Hey there, fourth grade mathematicians. Today is the big day. Today we learn the traditional standard algorithm for long division. This is a method that is tried and true that has been used for generations to teach division. And if you remember this acronym, does McDonald's sell burgers? Really? You will always remember the steps to long division. So say it with me. Does McDonald's sell burgers? Really? You're like, what are you talking about, Mr. Hoffman? Well, does McDonald's sell burgers? Really? You have to say it like that. Are the is a mnemonic that outlines the steps for long division. So the D stands for the division part. M is multiply, S is subtract, B is bring down, R is remainder. So let's make sense of does McDonald's sell burgers really, or divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, remainder. So let's start simple here. You have learned amazing mental math strategies. You have learned a lot of things to help you with division. But there are times where you are going to be stuck and you need another tool, and this will be that tool. So, like I said, let's start very simple with 78 divided by 2. So I have 78 divided by 2. Remember, when you write your division like this is what we are now doing with division problems. You have the division house. It has some fancy name. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'll look it up for you. But your dividend is always going to be inside the house, and your divisor is always going to be outside the house trying to get in, and your quotient or your answer is going to be on the top. So just to review, your dividend, your divisor, your quotient. This problem is saying to me, how can I split 78 into two groups and those groups have equal objects? How can I split 78 into two groups with those groups having equal objects? So let's go through the steps. So step one, the most important step, is to divide. You are asking yourself, how many times does 2 go into 78? Now, mentally, you can start thinking to yourself, well, I know 2 times 10 is 20, 2 times 20 is 40, 2 times 6, 2 times 20 is 40, 2 times 30 is 60, so it must be close to that. Well, sometimes we don't know those factors because you're getting larger numbers. Sometimes, like specifically in fifth grade, you're going to have two-digit divisors and have to divide it. So for the sake of me teaching you this lesson, let's just pretend that we don't know that approximation. And let's start with the very first place value next to the door of the house. So here's the door of the house right here. So we normally work with math right to left, and division, we're working left to right like we read. So 2 goes into 7 how many times? 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, can't go 4 times. 2, 4, 6. So it goes into 7 3 times. All right, next step is to multiply. We multiply the 2 times the 3, the number that we just wrote up here in our quotient. This is our partial quotient. 2 times 3 is 6. We are going to place that number right under the number that we analyzed, the 7. And what I mean by analyze, the number that we asked, how many times does 2 go into that part of the dividend? So step 2 is done. Step 3 is subtract. Now we are going to minus. 7 minus 6 is 1. We've done subtract. We haven't touched this 8 yet. You'll notice that. So let's look at step 4, bring down. This is where you bring down the remainder of the numbers. So if I have a number here, I'm going to bring it down. If there was another number here, I would go through the whole process again. So the next number is the 8. We're going to bring the 8 down. You don't have to draw that arrow, but I wanted you to see. Typically, we don't draw the arrow. So now we have 18. you have to pretend that this 18 is really all that's left of that 78, because that is all that's left of that 78. There really isn't any pretending there. So we go into the next step is remainder. Well, we haven't finished this part here. You know that you'll have a remainder when this partial quotient right here is less than that divisor. I'll repeat that. You'll know when you have a remainder if this partial quotient is less than that divisor. 18 is not less than 2. So we need to skip step R, remainder, and move back to step D, divide. How many times does 2 go into 18? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 times. So that division is going to go up here. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 2 goes into 18 9 times. So now we go to our next step of multiply. How do we multiply? 2 times 9 is 18. And then we subtract. 18 minus 18 is 0. Look next to the 8. There are no numbers to bring down. So we look at remainder. Well, this 0 is less than that 2, and there's nothing in here. There's no remainder. So your quotient would be 39. Let's look at it again. I'm going to run through 3 of these with you. So this time, follow along as I divide 153 into 9. 9 into 153. I apologize for misspeaking. First step is to divide. So go across the place value here of your 153, your dividend. So we look left to right this time. 9. Does 9 go into 1? It cannot go into 1. 9 is greater than 1. So let's look at, can 9 go into 15? 9 can go into 15. Even if it doesn't go in evenly, that's okay. We will tease out the remainder if there is a remainder. So 9 goes into 15 how many times? 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. Right? Can't go past 15. It's like Price is Right. So 9 can only go into 15 once, or there would be a remainder. So 9 times 1 is 9. And we subtract what would be left over. You are not subtracting 9 from 153. You're subtracting 9 from the number in that place value that you did this division. So we divided 9 into 15, not 9 into 153. So 9 times 1 is 9, because we know that 9 can go into 15 one time. We do our subtraction. 15 minus 9, I believe, is 6 the last time I checked. We finished step, I'm wondering if you can see, here we go. We finished step 3, subtraction. Step 4 of does McDonald's sell burgers really is to bring down what is left over. So if I look at what's left over, it's this 3. We've already used this 1 and this 5 for 15. Let's bring down the 3. So we're going to bring that 3 all the way down past that subtraction line. And we have 63. You should be screaming at the screen right now, because you know that 9 does go into 63. 9 can go into 63 how many times? So we have no remainder yet, because this number is this number is greater than 9. So you know that 9 can go into 63 is what I'm trying to say. So 9 can go into 63. Let's do the division. 63 divided by 9 would be 7. Would it not? 9 times 7 is 63. So 9 can go into 63 7 times, and we write that 7 right up here. I'll put it in a different color for you. We do the 9 times the 7 for our next step, not the 9 times the 17. I see students trip up with that sometimes. So it'll be 9 times the 7, because this is the number that we just did that division with. 9 times 7 is 63. So that's multiplication. Now we look at subtraction. 63 minus 63 is 0. We look to bring down any numbers. Well, we don't have any numbers next door to bring down. We look to see if there's a remainder. We have 0 left over. 0 is less than 9. 9 can't go into 0. We have no remainder. So your quotient would be 17. Let's look at one more of these. Let's go with 126 divided by 9. Where did my eraser go? 120. We already did a 9's fact. Let's go with. Sorry, I'm looking in your textbook. 441 divided by 3. 441 divided by 3. So first step is to divide. Work your way across. So look at first the 4. Well, I do know 3 can go into 4. 3 can go into 4 how many times? 3 times 1 is 3, so it can go in 1 time. 3 times 2 is 6. So let's go with just 3 times 1. So step 1, divide. 3 goes into 4 one time. We haven't even touched this other stuff yet. We're going to get there. Look at multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. Then we subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. Then we bring down the next number. So let's bring down this 4. Show that to you. We have the 4. We don't have to bring down that 1. We're not going all the way. We're working our way across. There are shortcuts, but I'm not going to show you those shortcuts right now because I want you to learn this does McDonald's sell burgers really method, or the standard algorithm. So after we brought down, we look at remainder. We'll look at this 14. 3 can absolutely go into that 14. 14 can be divided by 3. How many times? We can't do step R yet. So we got to go back to step divide, or D. So 3 can go into 14. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. It's over if we go 3 times 5. So we know we can go in 4 times. So I'm going to write my 4 here. We're not going to do 3 times 14. We are going to do 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. So that's the multiplication. Next step is subtraction. So let's look at the subtraction, right? 14 minus 12 is 2. Let's now bring down that 1. Because we divided, we multiply, we subtract, we bring down. We bring down this 1. We're looking at 21 as my new dividend. We have no remainder yet. This one doesn't have a remainder, I don't think, and neither did the one before. But we have a new dividend. How many times does 3 go into 21? Probably screaming at the screen right now telling me 7. So we know 3 can go into 21 7 times, or 21 divided by 3 is 7. Next step is to multiply. 3 times 7 is 21. Last step is to subtract. Not the last step, but close to the end step here. 21 minus, I'm having some camera issues here. 21 is 0. Does McDonald's sell burgers? Next step would be to bring something down. There's nothing over here to bring down. So let's look to see if we have a remainder. We have 0 left over, so that tells me that there's no remainder. you would know that you weren't finished if this number was 3 or greater. If it was a 1 or a 2, that would be your remainder. So my quotient is 147. I want to emphasize this with all of you right now as a good habit when you're doing long division is to be careful with your work and write it neatly. Attend to precision. I would write down DMSRBR. DMSBR. Does McDonald's sell burgers really? As a guide to help you with those steps. And not to get frustrated. This is a multi step process, and it's very easy to make one tiny mistake, and that one tiny mistake might make you feeling like this. But guess what? If you work really hard and you be careful and you practice, you'll be leaving like that. All right, mathematicians, give this a shot.